Well, I see that we are already live, and dear all, I'm very pleased to open our today discussion. And before I will introduce our speakers today, I want to mention that we will be talking not only about Ukrainian situation, but also about regional possible scenarios which could be applied in future and possible payoffs from the political points of view. And this event we will be discussing with experts from Romania and Ukraine, and I'm very happy to talk about that with Ukrainian expert, director of Ukrainian think tank, Mikhailo Samus. Good afternoon.
Hello.
And Romanian expert in politics and international relations, professor of University of Bucharest, Radu Karp. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
So I think it's very interesting. It would be very interesting to start our discussion from the recent events over the Azovstal and what's going on in Mariupol. This is a topic which is monitored by all over the world, and it has already become a symbol of the resistance in Ukraine, the symbol of Ukrainian fight, brave fight. And Mr. Samus, I would address this question firstly to you, and what are you expecting from this situation and how it will be developing in the future? Because already we are, personally, I have read a lot of information that Russian authorities are not going to change them like war prisoners. So could we expect some possible positive outcomes from this position?
You know, in Ukraine, we are not commenting these issues at all and keeping silence because it's a very sensitive operation and we don't want to give any impact on the continuation of it. So sorry, but I'm not going to talk about this.
Mr. Karp, how this development, recent events is perceived in Romania, how people discuss this topic? Because as far as I've seen, even today, Russian embassy tried to manipulate by this situation, and how it is understood by Romanian people.
Well, first of all, I would like to say that I also think this operation in Azovstal is not known well to the public. And I think it's obvious that both states, both Ukraine and Russia, doesn't want to discuss more details about what they agreed. But I think it's obvious that they agreed something. It's obvious that no matter the developments, they will follow a certain path. I would say that in Romania also this was a very emotional issue because I would say that the Romanian public it's observing every day what is going on in Ukraine. I saw statistics telling that Romania is among the three most interested states in the media terms about the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. It means that news about Ukraine are more in Romania than in other countries from Europe. And of course, this Azovstal issue was indeed very much covered by the Romanian media.
Mr. Samus, what do you think? How it will be? What it will be the further development? Because the latest updates was telling that Russian forces are going to concentrate their efforts on Lugansk, just on the Lugansk direction. But even a few weeks ago, they was talking about all Donbass. What's going on from military point of view on the east of Ukraine, and will they diminish further their ambitions?
Actually, and now we are looking at the final stage of the second level of Russian war against Ukraine. First level was since 2004. After this, the collapse of the Russian intentions to occupy Kiev in a couple hours, escaping from Kiev Oblast, Chernihiv Oblast, Sumy Oblast. We know about it. It was a disaster for Russian forces. After this, they regrouping and try to conduct a second level of this war with main target to get some strategic defeat for Ukrainian armed forces in Donbas. So they had actually three main targets or main radiuses. I would say that like main radiuses. One radius was from the Kharkiv from the north and from Zaporizhia from the south, with meeting point on Dnipro city. Second smaller radius was kind of Izum from the north and Gulay-Pole from the south, and the smallest radius was Severodonetsk and Popasna, these areas. So after the several weeks of this trying and intentions to defeat Ukrainian forces on these three lines, finally they didn't succeed any targets, any goals, any success here, and they trying to finalize at least this small area with Severodonetsk, Lysychansk, Popasna area, and to defeat forces, Ukrainian forces, at least here, just with very clear ambitions to have administration line of Lugansk Oblast, to proclaim at least how they call the occupation of LNR. This is actually the from their point of view the most real goal on this time, but I'm sure it won't be any success as well. And I'm sure that now we could expect third level of Russian war, trying to try to make a frozen conflict again, try to fix these occupied territories together with new occupied territories. And of course, the main problems for Ukraine, if Russia will try to fix it, it's actually south. It's Kherson Oblast, it's Zaporizhia Oblast, very important for agriculture. It's a total blockade from Black Sea for Odessa, economical, logistical, Ukrainian capabilities, and it will be a huge and strong strike and impact on Ukrainian economy, export. And that's why I think that in next several weeks, I hope we'll see Ukrainian counteroffensive operations, of course, on the Kharkiv area and Donbas, but as well on the Kherson and other southern directions.
But what do you mean by saying that they will try to frozen this conflict? For that, they need to negotiate this point with Ukrainian authorities somehow. But are you sure that Kiev will accept this attempts to frozen this situation?
Actually, they don't need to talk with Ukrainian authorities. They could frozen the current situation. So trying to demonstrate some offensive intentions, some attempts, how they, for example, now they try to show that they prepare some offense or some attacks on Sumy and Chernihiv Oblast as well. Now a couple of UAVs actually hit it in Kiev Oblast. So it means that Russia is trying to show they will conduct some operations even on the northern part. So to frozen conflict, they don't need to talk or to have negotiations with Ukrainian part. They need only to stop offensive operations, but try to make a new defense lines between Ukrainian and Russian forces. For example, in Kherson Oblast, Zaporizhia Oblast, and Kharkiv Oblast, and of course, old and new lines in Donbas. And if we imagine this, it means that for Ukraine, it will be disaster for economical part. And in this case, I would say that Odessa region and of course Transnistria will play some significant role.
Yeah, we will come back to the Transnistria topic after a few minutes. Mr. Karp, I just wanted to welcome you to clarify that point. What will be the possible reactions from the Romanian state, from other international partners like Bucharest 9, that part of alliances, if Russia will try to make some steps to get these areas to be frozen?
Well, Romania is in a somehow difficult situation because it shares a border with Ukraine. And we see that a lot of fierce battles are not far away from the Romanian territory. The Serpent Island, it's not more than 40 kilometers from the Danube Delta, from Sulina, from important Romanian town, when everyone can hear the bombardments and the fighting going on. Romania is not, it's have as a neighbor, Republic of Moldova, which is also concerned about the current situation in Ukraine. We have seen yesterday the president of Republic of Moldova, Ms. Maia Sandu, going to Brussels in the European Parliament. And I would like to emphasize for the Ukrainian audience that the gesture of Maia Sandu to say that Donbass is Ukraine, that Crimea is Ukraine, was very much welcomed in the European Parliament. And you have to take into account that the Republic of Moldova is a neutral country, it's a neutral state. So these kind of sentences that could be very neutral, let's say, before the war, now can be seriously hurt Republic of Moldova, which doesn't have an army. The Republic of Moldova realized how weak it is in military terms after the conflict started in Ukraine. And now we saw some reassurances from the President of the Council of the European Union, from Charles Michel, that Republic of Moldova will be helped also in military terms in the face of a possible aggression. So we are really worried because in Transnistria there is a large deposit of guns in Kobasna, not far away from Chisinau, not far away from the Romanian border. And we don't know the fate and don't know of this deposit. We don't know the plans for the Russian army for this strategic point. And of course, Republic of Moldova have all the reason to be frightened about the possible escalation of the conflict. And everything that comes from the minds of the masterheads, the military masterhead in Moscow, is not reassuring us of a possible peaceful solution. Everything that was said in Moscow in recent weeks just reinforce the idea that Russia want to create a corridor between the Black Sea area that now it has and Transnistria. So we are very much worrying about the possible escalation of the conflict. Yesterday, the Minister of Interior Affairs of Republic of Moldova came to Romania in order to have consultations with the Romanian authorities in order to have a dialogue to know better the situation in Transnistria, to know which are the forces that could lead to an escalation, what measures, concrete measures could be done, and of course there is a matter of general preoccupation in Romania about the conflict that it's just across the Danube in Ukraine.
So for what extent Republic of Moldova could rely on Romania from at this point of view if some escalation in Transnistria happens?
Well, Romania is the strongest supporter of Republic of Moldova in terms of European integration. A lot of expertise coming from Bucharest. It's right now in the Republic of Moldova. Of course, we don't have a military treaty with the Republic of Moldova because, as I said, Moldova is a neutral state and doesn't need to have military insurance from any state. But as part of the European Union, of course, we are in favor of better army of the European Union, just of the Republic of Moldova, just to send the message to Russia that Republic of Moldova and the whole European Union, it's not indifferent to what is going on in Republic of Moldova. Even if Moldova doesn't want to join NATO, but European Union could be also a partner in terms of defense capabilities, in terms of defense strategy, in terms of helping in any manner Republic of Moldova.
Actually, Mr. Samos, what does it mean for Ukraine in this situation, under this condition, our neighboring states to be neutral? What does it mean for us? And how it is proceeding theoretically? Because we often hear from that side that a lot of things, a lot of stuff explained by this term, and not every time it's actually about what it means.
Yeah, of course, it's the term on neutrality is very difficult to define at all, and of course, it's impossible, from my opinion, it's impossible to be neutral to European values or to be neutral to such a term like territorial integrity or sovereignty. So I am not sure that the statement of President of Moldova that Crimea is Ukraine, it's something very, very heroic now. I think it's if Ukraine now will say that Transnistria is Moldova, of course it's Moldova. It's absolutely is not going to discuss it. And I think that even Moldova now depends on Russian gas. It's not a problem at all. We have in other countries with not even bigger problems that they're trying to find a solution. And I think that together, Ukraine, Moldova, Romania, and other countries of European Union can very easily solve the problems, energetic problems of Republic of Moldova. If Republic of Moldova is going to solve this and do not continue to have connections with Russia. I think that our Moldovan partners should understand Russia is not a normal country, and it's impossible to continue to with Russia normal business. It's impossible. Our European friends understood it already, and it's absolutely great that even Hungary now is not talking about the impossibility of sixth round of sanctions, but they're talking about price of this. Absolutely great approach. I would advise this approach to Republic of Moldova. If they say that we need a couple millions of euro, because Republic of Moldova getting not so much gas. So if couple of even 10 million euros, like Hungary told, we need 750 million euro, and we are going to support sanctions against Russia. Okay. I absolutely like this approach because, of course, Hungarian leadership, they are talking about the national interest, the economical and energy balance. I'm sure that Moldova could go such a way because I'm sure that Russia will try to use Transnistria issue. Russia will try to use Serpent Island, as we talked a lot about it for years, that Russia will use it. And Russia, of course, already use it, and Ukrainian forces successfully destroying all of Russian military infrastructure and troops on this island. And this is the best method with communication with Russia now. just to show force and to show that we are not going to talk with Russia. And I just want to say that we are not going to looking for some de-escalation of the conflict. We are not going to find a de-escalation of the conflict. We are going to deoccupy our territory. This is our goal. It's not a goal to stop this war. What I'm talking about before, couple minutes ago, Russia will try to use this. Actually, try to supporters in European Union that will say, okay, of course we against war. Everybody is against war. So let's stop. Yeah. Let's stop here in Kherson Oblast. Let's stop here in Kharkiv Oblast. Let's stop even in Zaporizhia and other. Maybe they will try to get Odessa now. Stop here and try to talk. And unfortunately, I would say that Ukraine will agree on this. Won't agree on this. It will be escalation of the conflict. Unfortunately, maybe for our European partners, it will be escalation of this conflict because Ukraine now is preparing for counter-offensive operations. And of course, counter-offensive operations will be escalation of this conflict. It will be more destroyed troops, Russian troops. It will be more killed Russian soldiers.
Actually, I'm pretty sure that we will hear some such points very soon. But Mr. Karp, what do you think? What will be the reaction of Romanian authority if some European leaders again will offer to stop somewhere, not to continue the war? We are for peace, for everything good, and just let's to be friends.
Well, I would like to, yes, okay, of course. I would like to add something regarding Republic of Moldova, which is very important for our discussion. I would like to say that the attitude of Ukraine was regarding Republic of Moldova and regarding the willingness of Republic of Moldova to be integrated into the European Union was not very well welcomed in Chisinau and in Brussels and in Bucharest, because I think that all three countries, Republic of Moldova, Ukraine, and Georgia, shall join their forces in order to advance on the area of European integration. As a general perspective, because I'm not from Ukraine, so my Ukrainian counterpart obviously knows better and could assess better the situation on the ground. But what I see right now in Ukraine, it's what we call as a war of attrition. I mean, it's obvious that no party to the conflict, neither Ukraine nor Russia could escalate the conflict without a further escalation from the other part. I think is that we are witnessing the most difficult part of the conflict, where we don't know if we reach the peak of the conflict, where is that peak, and what will follow. And I think that we have to be very careful on every move, because I think for our security, for Romania's security, let's say, winning Ukraine, it's in our strategic advantage, let's say. And of course, we encourage this outcome of the conflict, but really we cannot say in this right moment where the conflict is going on. We see that for the moment, Russia it's in the possession of 20% of the Ukrainian territory. Is it too much? Is it more than they thought? Is it less than they thought? I think it's enough. I think it's 1/5 of the Ukraine territory under occupation. I think it's enough for the whole international community to say stop, because we saw conflicts where, let's say, 5 or 10% of the territory was under occupation, and it was a disaster. But in the case of the 1/5 of the territory under occupation, in the case of ongoing economical disaster for the whole world, meaning that Ukraine cannot export its grains, its production in the whole world. And today I saw Secretary of State Blinken saying that 22 million tons of grains from Ukraine cannot go in the outside world, which is enormous. And I think Ukraine now, it's what is going on in Ukraine, it's a danger not only to the European security, but to the world security, because an escalation of prices in the summer, it means a disaster autumn, and it means possible conflicts all around the world where there is no enough food. So the situation is very serious at the moment. We hope that the conflict will reach its peak as soon as possible, and we hope in a possible de-escalation, we hope that Ukraine will would succeed to cover all its territory, because this is the only way to end the conflict for the moment. I think that right now Russia is not in a position to have a very, how to say, aggressive attitude. I would like to end my intervention by saying that let's see the attitude of Russia regarding Norway and Finland, the integration into NATO. Now Russia is saying, well, we not oppose them if they will not put aggressive mechanisms, guns and everything on their territory. It means that the whole attitude is softened. It's softened. Why? Because in Russia they feel that they even don't have the power to oppose NATO expansion, which was not the case at the beginning of the invasion of Ukraine. So we see Russia that it's on the verge of going to weaken, but of course it will be, I think, a very slow process, and we don't know how much it will take.
Mr. Samos, are you agree? And one little remark what has been saying Mr. Karp. Is this diplomacy weakness of Russian positions determined by what is going on the ground from the military prospect?
To be honest, I don't remember any time when Russia could stop any enlargement on NATO. It was a fake intentions. It was always it was a disinformation. It was pressure on West and using the FIP column inside of the Germany or France, for example. Remember Bucharest, April 2008, when Putin arrived personally and stopped Georgia and Ukraine member action plan decision-making process. And I'm sure that it was disaster for NATO and all West, because Putin understood that it's possible to solve any problem, just fear without any possible instruments. I cannot understand how Russia in any of these years since 2008 or before 2008 could stop NATO from making this decision about member action plan or another enlargement. I am sure that if we got the member action plan in 2008, we didn't have any war in Georgia and Ukraine, because Russia stopped on that point. But after the demonstration by NATO, the weakness, of course, Putin started to get more and more. And we've got the Georgia, we've got 2014, and now we have a total disaster and catastrophic consequences for not only Ukraine, but all of Western civilization. And talking about the term de-escalation and escalation, for Russian de-escalation could be using tactical nuclear weapon. This is in Russian understanding, what does it mean de-escalation of the conflict? It's using tactical nuclear weapon to stop another side. I mean, even NATO and European Union just to move and frozen on their position. They start to say that, okay, guys, we understood that you are crazy. Let's talk about the capitulation of Ukraine. So from Ukrainian point of view, we need to deoccupy this territory without any terms, de-escalation or escalation, doesn't matter. Absolutely how we call this process, it will be deoccupation of Ukrainian territory. And of course, I'm sure that Russia won't have any diplomatic or military means to stop Western countries to help Ukraine. Everything was fake about the Russian capabilities. And I'm very glad that finally United States signed this Land-Lease Act, and another partners from NATO and European Union showed their support by sending us heavy weapon. It means that they finally stop afraid Russians, and this is very good sign for all of Western civilization.
Mr. Karp, returning to the Transnistria topic, I wanted to ask about 5+2 format, and also there have been circulated in Ukrainian informational space some ideas that the Republic of Moldova could ask Ukraine to help with the military capabilities to resolve this problem even in this way, because Ukraine right now it is a single country which is not restricted by any military agreement versus like NATO member states. What do you think about that? And what maybe possible view do you have regarding the 5+2 negotiation format? Because practically it has already been suspended, and they don't continue anymore any meetings. So, and it is hardly believable that these formats in this, how to say, with these participants will be functioning after the Ukrainian war.
Well, first of all, I would like to start by saying that Transnistria is not Transnistria that we are accustomed with, in the sense that inside Transnistria there were incredible transformations in the last years. So Transnistria was 100% oriented towards Moscow, but now Transnistria have seen the advantages of European integration, the advantages of having a good relationship with European countries. And for example, a lot of Transnistrians are oriented towards towards regaining Romanian citizenship and therefore EU citizenship by proclaiming false or true relationship with the Moldavian citizenship. You know that Moldavians could regain the citizenship of Romania and therefore being EU citizens. So we are witnessing a very interesting situation in Transnistria where we have a lot of EU citizens and we have a lot of leaders of Transnistria having even 4 citizenship: Russian, Ukrainian, Romanian and Moldavian. So right now, Transnistria is a puzzle that it's hard to understand, and which explains why Transnistria it's against the conflict, the current conflict in Ukraine, because for Transnistria, the best situation was the situation before the war. The war, it doesn't mean that they will meet a Russian army as friends, because as I said, a lot of them have opened business relationship with European countries and also with Ukraine. So I think that we don't know too much about what is going on in Transnistria right now, and if you follow the statements of the Transnistrian leaders, you will see that they are not so aggressive as they used to be, I don't know, 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. So I think Transnistria favor in a paradoxical way, the rapprochement between Republic of Moldova and European Union. And Transnistrian leaders knows they are very, pragmatic, and they know very well that Republic of Moldova, meaning the area of the Republic of Moldova controlled by Chisinau authorities. So this part of Republic of Moldova is strongly connected with Transnistria in the sense of the energy capabilities. So they will use this instrument as a pressure to Moldova, but not as a pressure to avoid European integration, but on the contrary, to go forward on this integration. So, but I think in Tiraspol there is still this illusion that you can go forward the Republic of Moldova on European integration, but still have good relationship with Moscow. And they slowly realize right now that this is not possible anymore. And it's an ongoing issue.
Actually, we are considering very well that they behave themselves not very aggressive, even friendly in some cases, for some extent. What do you think of the future of the format of the political framework, Mr. Samus? Maybe you have some ideas.
I'm not sure that I agree with the colleague with Dr. Karp. Actually, I'm not going to give Transnistria the subjectivity in international affairs, because it looks like Transnistria really exists on the map. But Transnistria is only occupied territory. And if we're talking about the occupied territory, Dr. Karp told that we are not know much about the situation. I'm totally sure that the leadership of so-called Transnistria is the FSB officers, maybe generals. I'm not sure. So I cannot imagine for 1 second that the colonel of FSB could make something against Moscow. If we're talking about the citizens, the people living on this territory, of course, they are trying to live a normal life. They're trying to be citizens of Romania or Moldova, Ukraine, if they have a job in Odessa region. Of course, I understand them. I have a lot of friends in Transnistria. I understand that actually the people from leadership of Sheriff, it's the richest company in Transnistria, a lot of them is Ukrainian citizens, and some of the companies working on Transnistria, they registered in Ukraine actually before this full-scale war. So I'm not sure that we can speak about Transnistria leadership, Transnistria as an independent subject of this situation. I'm sure that this is absolutely the same like DNR, LNR. The problem is that Moldova perceive it like something like they can live with it. Ukraine, for example, absolutely clear define this territory occupied territory. In Moldova, they have a dispute about it. In some time they feel this occupied territory, sometimes it's a subject, sometimes it's economical entity. So I think that now it's a problem of self-definition for Moldovan state, how they going to live with Transnistria. Of course, it's not a Ukrainian business, but what Mariana asked about the possibility if Moldovan leadership could ask Ukraine to help with military means to deoccupy. Deoccupy means to defeat Russian forces sitting there. Do not touch any Moldovan land or to have some interest here. The problem is that these Russian forces sitting on Moldovan land in Transnistria, they have a clear, direct threat right now with 2 battle groups, which is going to attack Ukrainian territory on the western part of Odessa Oblast. They are ready for it. And it's a problem because Ukraine actually cannot attack these forces because they are staying on the sovereign territory of Moldova. From the other hand, we are talking about some subjectivity of Transnistria. If this subject, so Ukraine can attack these forces because Russian forces, it's our enemy. We need to attack them before they attack us. So the problem and diplomatic problem between Ukraine and Moldova to define what does it mean Transnistria for Moldova. For Ukraine, it's occupied territory on Moldovan territory. It's absolutely clear because Ukraine absolutely clear what does it mean Russia, what does it mean Donbass and Crimea. This occupied territory by Russian forces, the same like in Georgian state. So this is really a problem of self-definition for Moldovan state, how they will perceive this and how they will deal with, if, for example, let's imagine it's absolutely could happen even tomorrow, if these two tactical battle groups of Russian forces will attack through village Palanka, through Moldovan, not occupied territory, to Ukrainian territory, to western part of Ukraine. What Moldova will do? I think nothing, because they really don't have any military forces. What Ukraine should do? Should they attack these forces, for example, from the north to the back of these forces through actually Moldovan territory? And what could be the problem between Moldova and Ukraine in this case? Because as I know, Moldova still doesn't want to talk actively on this case, thinking that nothing happened. In Ukraine, we know that we should plan everything, not to be in illusions that Russia will avoid any scenarios, even worse scenarios, which is even very difficult to imagine. Can you imagine 4 months ago that Russia will attack Kyiv Oblast and kill civilians in very nice Irpin Bucha towns, suburbs close to Kyiv? So it's a very crazy time, and I think it's better to discuss this than trying to avoid this.
Regarding the status of occupied territory of Transnistria, actually, we remember how Moldovan state behaved in the Council of Europe, and moreover, this amendment to the resolution of Council of Europe to consider this territory as occupied was presented by Romanian delegation. So, Mr. Karp, how do you consider these intentions from Romanian state to get all this stuff more clear, and intentions of Moldovan authorities to tell everybody that they own internal business, not to take into consideration positions from the Council of Europe? Besides, it was some intention to show some to express political support for Moldova, especially in the term of the war in Ukraine.
You are absolutely right. That resolution of the Council of Europe came as an initiative of the Romanian delegation, and of course it was supported by the Moldavian delegation. So for a long period, Romania had this in mind, but I think the resolution was passed at the right moment, just on the eve of the invasion of Ukraine. And I think here Ukraine media shall say the truth, that Russia was expelled of the Council of Europe after that resolution. It was not a reaction of Russia to withdraw from the Council of Europe, but it was expelled precisely because of this resolution. So it's very important to underline in Kyiv and all over the world in the media that the Romanian past resolution had a concrete result as Russia being expelled of the Council of Europe, which didn't happen after Crimea episode. And I think the resolution of the Council of Europe is very important now, even if Russia it is not a member of the Council of Europe. It means that this resolution could be used in the future negotiations, about diplomatic negotiations about the future of Transnistria. And I think after the war in Ukraine, the Republic of Moldova could ask the Russian Federation not only to withdraw from Transnistria, but to have compensations for the not use of the territory for 3 decades, which it's an idea that it was for a long time expressed, but of course it didn't have a legal support. Now it has a legal support, and I think Republic of Moldova could start this process of asking compensations. But everything will depend on the speed of the Republic of Moldova integration to the European Union. Because, and this is the last issue that I want to emphasize, because it is wrong to assume that the Republic of Moldova cannot be member of the European Union without solving the Transnistrian issue. I remind you that Cyprus, it's part of the European Union, even if the northern part of Cyprus is still occupied by Turkey. In legal terms, the whole territory of Cyprus is in the European Union, but the application of EU law is suspended on the northern part until the formal resolution of the conflict. So I think that everything depends on the speed of the European integration of Republic of Moldova, that I hope will be very fast.
But actually, that is a problem. While Council of Europe is creating some international legal instruments to consider this territory as occupied, Republic of Moldova not very happy with that, saying that they are not agree and that they are in business and they are not going to consider this resolution.
No. To be honest, Republic of Moldova didn't deny the importance of this resolution. They didn't want to discuss so much because they were afraid of Russian Federation intentions and aggressivity. But to be honest, the Republic of Moldova didn't deny the importance of the resolution. But this is an issue that could be discussed in all the aspects after the end of the war in Ukraine, I think.
Thank you very much. And the last question for both of you, in a nutshell, which kind of regional security, global security system, with regional obviously impact we will have after this war, Mr. Sams? A bit prognosis.
You mean which
what kind of security system we will have after this war?
After this war, I think that we'll still have NATO, and I think that Ukraine will be a member of the NATO after this conflict. Actually, we could have in parallel some even more effective structure, like we started to create this Ramstein conference with very clear target, with the goal to support Ukrainian military help and to support military changing of the and standardization of Ukrainian armed forces. But I think that this kind of format, like why this is more effective, because look at now to the NATO. Every time when NATO started to try to solve or make a decision on some principal question, somebody trying to create on some Eastern Bazaar and try to solve own problems, like Hungary or Turkey, very bright examples. So it's very against the capabilities of the NATO to make fast decisions. If we're talking about for example, Russian operations, it's hours, it's not days and weeks how to react on this. So I think that maybe we'll have more flexible military organizations with the same leaders like United States, UK, and maybe in other European countries, but without these commitments in making decision process from the political side. Maybe it will be like this. So one military, very flexible organization, and NATO still will be as a basement for defending Europe, defending European values, but on more on political and strategic level.
Mr. Karp, what ideas do you have regarding the transformation of security system and regional impact, maybe afterwards?
It is very important that Ukraine will succeed in recuperating its whole territory, because I think that the presence of Russia in the Black Sea will fundamentally change the whole ecosystem, if you wish, of the region, but not only of the region, but of the whole world. Because it is very important to keep the current balance of power into the Black Sea region, because we see also that Turkey it's part of the Black Sea, and Turkey it's also have a very aggressive behavior. So just imagine Black Sea, which is 80% controlled by Russia and Turkey. It will be a disaster for the regional security. Therefore, I hope that in the end a balance will be found. I hope that in the end Ukraine will reconquer the territory that lost at the Black Sea, and I hope that in the end the balance of power in this part of Europe, including Russia, will be re-established. Because for a country like Romania, a strong Ukraine is the best insurance that we can get that Russia will not be aggressive towards any country in Europe. And therefore, we think that it is my presumption, my assumption, that at a certain point, after the end of the conflict, NATO will invite Ukraine to join in a certain form, because it is in the general interest of a balance in Europe. Unfortunately, Russia didn't understood that NATO was not created as having an offensive goal, but a defensive role. It understood this for a very limited period of time, and afterwards it took it as the offensive alliance, which is not. I remind you that Vladimir Putin always said, for example, that the infrastructure in the Veselu is oriented towards Russia. No, on the contrary, it does have a defensive role. So I hope that the whole world will understand better the situation in this region, and a certain balance of power will be reestablished for the good of the people that is still living in our countries.
Thank you very much for your brilliant ideas, for being here for a long time, even more than, because usually we talk about 30-40 minutes, and our discussion was lasting more than 1 hour, and maybe I need to a bit to ask you how to say, to apologize about this late time, and hope to see you next time in our discussion. And I hope we will be having more topics to express, to discuss. And I wish you a nice evening, and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good luck. Slava Ukraini.